is we've gone through in a historical evolution primarily 3 times. And this is not the first time we've had major social evolutionary changes. The first time is when we went from hunting and gathering to agriculture. And what you have is a degree of specialization taking place, and it's a dramatic specialization. Unfortunately, most of those time periods are undocumented. We can look back at areas where they transcended a bit to see some friction, some conflict, but on the whole, we can only kind of empathize and imagine what that conflict was like. But we do know that there was a degree of specialization taking place. The second would have been when we went from the agricultural age to the Industrial Revolution. There we do have documentation. But the issue here is that it wasn't just that we have the documentation. The documentation tells us very clearly it was single gender specialization. Men got more specialized. Men's roles of being able to provide became further specialized. Women on a whole, their dynamic role did not change. And as we go into the information age, we now have a significant change in the fact that we now have dual sex specialization. We talk about in a very kind of overt way about society becoming more feminized, and that is very true, and that is a direct outlay of the information age. But part of that feminization is realizing that we have specialized roles where women are taking, fulfilling, and actually co-sharing in. Okay? And men have not adapted very well. Our psyche of belief has not actually kept up with the times. And if Darwin has taught us anything, it is the species that evolves appropriately for its time and the challenges it's faced that survives. And where men are failing, where men are feeling lost, they have not kept up with the times. We have not recognized that we have an increase in EQ, or emotional quotient, as far as what we expect in relationships and jobs and everything else. We have old school models of what it means to be a leader, to lead and to manage. It's fairly direct. They're typically referred to as hard skills. Women have brought in a whole series of other skills that are highly valuable to increase effectiveness, team building, networking, socialization, consensus building, collaboration, and overall a measure of diplomacy. You know, when you take this in an appropriate context. And these skills are highly utilized in business today. All right, but we don't teach them in men in relationships. Okay? Men who don't understand that, who don't learn that, who are not taught that, are exposed to it, go into life at a deficit. And we need to realize we're at a disadvantage when we don't know something. And ignorance is no shelter from reality. It's a hard fact of life. These sort of skills, and while we utilize them in business, really are perfect for relationships. This is where you start developing them. If you don't understand how to set a boundary, if you don't understand collaboration building in a relationship or consensus building in a relationship, proper lead and managing and maintaining a relationship, you're sure as hell not going to do it in business. Interestingly enough, there are men that actually do it well in business and have horrible personal lives because they don't utilize it. There's a direct correlation between them. So we need to understand and recognize that the information age has brought a total transformation in our social structure. It's opening new things, and we're not going to put this genie back in the bottle. And to be honest, I wouldn't want the genie to be back in the bottle. I love the hell out of June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver, but I wouldn't want to be married to her. I think there's some amazing dynamics involved. There's some things I miss, and feminism has gone from one swing of the pendulum to June Cleaver to Kim Kardashian. The pendulum has gone too far to one side. We need to take the value. Women don't have to give up everything. They don't need to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. They don't have to get rid of the domicile and the domestic aspects of being feminine and the things that naturally draw men to them. But we need to be aware of some of the issues that we're facing today as the age.